Drag and drive is for the guy who loves driving his car.
And that's why drag and drive stuff is so much more fun. It's like turning a bunch of 15-year-old boys loose with cool hot rods.
With the cool hot rods. That's right. Because none of us when we were 15 had anything cool like what we've got now.
Drag and drive just brings out the want to in folks. You know, you're talking about being inspiring. I always hearken it back to Two Lane Blacktop. I think that it would be interesting to see the purchases of that movie in the last 3 years compared to the previous 20.
It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because on our Facebook group, which is literally Drag and Drive, our backdrop on there is of that 55, and the scene is them driving across that bridge, and then we've got the tagline on there that says Drag and Drive because those guys were doing Drag and Drive 40 years before Drag Week.
Yeah,
I mean, they were the original guys. They didn't have a trailer. They hauled it on out and stuffed the tires in the back of the trunk, carried a couple tools. Remember one of those the scenes in there where they're running low on cash, and so we put up the tools for $300 in cash. I mean,
yep.
We're talking about scraping it together.
Yeah, that's literally what a drag week or drag and drive event is like.
Yeah, it is. Richard Guido, when he came on down there, I think him competing in Sick Week was probably the easiest part of his track because it was only 800 miles compared to the 6,000 round trip to go back to Canada.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you start. The thing about drag and drive is you are around like-minded people that literally emotionally and physically want you to finish the week. More, right. Morale. They want the morale to finish the week. They have it and they carry it, but once you get away from that, like for Rich, for sure, you get in the middle of Nebraska and throw a wheel bearing and a 65 GTO on the side of the road, or you break your control arm. He had that happen, or broke the bolt or something like that. I mean, now you're in the generosity of the general public. Now you may struggle a little bit,
right? Who don't quite necessarily understand why he's doing what he's doing, but they are enamored by it.
Yeah, certainly. And I think the drag and drive spirit has begun to take hold a little bit of the country. And again, that's why we created Drag Drive Repeat, because we were running so much stuff under our Narcoleptic Customs YouTube and Facebook and Instagram that I felt bad for all of our followers there. So I'm like, look, drag and drive is my new life. I love this lifestyle. I love driving the cars. I love building stuff that is going to be driven. And, so that's why we created this. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why, it's like how long till the April event that we host, that's why you and I started talking in the beginning. And then, how long till Midwest Drags? How long till Hot Rod Drag Week? How long? I'm counting down the days now, where before it was like, okay, how long till this car show? How long till that car show? Now it's drag and drive takes over my life.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Drag and drive is for the guy who loves driving his car. That's the common thing. If you can't stand to be inside that car, then drag and drive is not for you. If you want to drive your car, you want to be on the road, you want to be with like-minded people and see some cool stuff that you're not going to see. And there's no other reason why you would have ever met these people or even been at that track, except because it was a drag and drive event. That's what makes it killer.
Yeah, 100%. Before drag and drives took over, we hosted a charity streetcar shootout at Mocan once a year. It was in October, late September, early October. And that was the only time I went to the track. Now we did Sick Week for 2022. So I was at, 4 different tracks in Florida. We're doing, Race Week. We're doing 2.0 in September. And so I'll be at 4 different racetracks then. And then we're trying to hit the last 2 days of Drag Week just for the content. So I'll be at another 2 tracks then. And I would have never been at those tracks if it had not been for drag and drive.
Yeah. So what's the count on that? About 20 different tracks this year?
Yes, we'll see.
I mean, if you average 4 to 5 tracks per event, you're going to go to 4 or 5 events. So that's basically going to be about 20 tracks per year.
Yeah. And again, just like you were saying, you'd have no reason to drive to, like I would have no reason to drive to Memphis to make passes, or Enos, Texas to make passes just to go on a Saturday afternoon, which is about 6 hours from me. I wouldn't do that, but because of Drag and Drive, I'm going to go and do that and make those memories.
Yep, that's exactly what it's right. Bailey calls Sick Week an adventure. We call ours an experience.
Yeah.
Because it absolutely is. I mean, the important thing to know to the new people that are joining us is this isn't a drag race. This isn't like your Saturday bracket or your weekend or your Friday night test and tune. This literally is an experience. I mean, you're spending vacation time, you're spending vacation money, and for the younger guys who have young families at home, they've got to sell it to their spouse that they're going to go on out and hang out with their buddies for a week while she stays at home and is responsible. So the memories have got to equal the financial expense. And that's one of the reasons why at the Midwest Drags, we are so blessed to be in the motorsports capital of the world that all of our route stops are always motorsports related.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, we went to John Force Racing. We've been to J&A Auto. We've been to Scott Rods, who had a very, very nice spread for us, all catered with a band and stuff.
Wow.
And so So it's a party and it's an experience. It's not just the racing at the track. It's everything that's in between. And that's what people are signing on up for, is that experience. And so, one of the things that also that we're doing this year for the Midwest Drags is after we leave Edgewater, which is our host track, we're going to be going to Brownsburg, Indiana, and we're going to be visiting Walt Herr. Now, Walt Herr was Larry Dixon's clutch guy in the 90s when it was either Dixon or Schumacher who was always winning. That's Walt Herr. He was responsible for getting that horsepower into the ground. So we're going to be stopping off at his shop. Then we're going to go on up to Morocco, Indiana, and we're going to race at US 41. Then we're going to come across and we're going to stop off at Callie's Crankshaft. We're going to race at Dragway 42. We're going to come on down and we're going to visit Profiler Cylinder Heads. And Mike puts out a very nice display. Looks like a miniature PRI show. And then Friday morning, I'm going to send everybody 20 miles down the street from Edgewater Motorsports Park to Tin Soldiers Race Cars. And then we'll come back. Lanes will open at 3:30, and we'll race AFCO Friday Night Lights at Edgewater, and then immediately go into the Molly Motorsports Awards ceremony. So all of that, it's not just making the passes. You're not signing on up just to go make passes. You're signing up for an overall experience.
Yeah, 100% experience, because as we talked in the live streams from last week and the week before, you're talking about you're getting 5 and 6 passes during the week. Now, I don't know how many you get on Midwest Drags. What's your car count on Midwest Drags?
Well, we limit it to 300 as well, but we also limit our SMEs to only 32 cars. So that'll and we have a 10.5 barrier to be able to get into the Midwest Drag. So we focus on some very, very fast cars. And in a way to be able to make that possible, because 2 hits are required. So it's not a one and done. 2 hits are required per day. Our class winners are an average of 8. And how we achieve that is because we have no class calls and we have a 750 express lane. So when you've got that visual of that funny car hoop, that puts you in lane number 1. And if they like the track and they're ready to go, they go on up there and they make their hit. And then we go to lanes 2 and 3 and then 4 and 5. And then we go back again. So the lanes are never, ever not moving, and that's the reason.
Wow. That makes me want to build something fast. I'll just tell you right now.
Hey, just go get yourself a Fox, get yourself an LS and the smallest 88 turbo that you can find, less than $10,000, and you're in the 8s.
Yeah. 100%. So, I don't know if you follow Sloppy Mechanics, but Matt Happel built a, 8-second car for, under $9,000. That's pretty awesome. I don't know if anybody else could do that, but hey, he did it, and that's awesome.
It's not terribly expensive to go super, super fast anymore. And that's why I say, you want to give credit to the explosion of this Drag and Drive. It's good to the LS platform and the turbo, because the rest of this is just, we could dream this all up and say, hey, let's go on out there and take our street cars. But like I say, they just be 10, 11, 12, 13 second cars, because you have still high lift cams. You're always watching your valve train. But with turbo cars, it eliminates all that, makes them far more reliable and keeps the drivability there.
Yeah, definitely. The valve train technology for turbo stuff has come Well, just anything has come so far in the last 10 years. But yeah, you're right. You know, if you're cramming air in one, you don't have to, the cam doesn't have to make the air,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So we've had Billy Godbold on before, and that's exactly what he was talking about, was just the livability of valve train for boosted vehicles, and especially LS stuff. It's amazing. And trans stuff has come a long way, which was, I feel like a limiting factor for a lot of stuff. If you didn't run a Glide or a Turbo 400 that had all the best parts in it, now with the technology, with the electronics, you can bring that stuff in higher in the RPM range. You can help, everything live a lot longer. And again, just like you said, helps everything go down the track and get between stuff. So, with you having 2 passes at each track, you're going to make at least 8 passes during the week.
You got to turn in 8 time slips.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So think about that, right? You're in the lanes, let's say an hour at the most, right? Because it sounds like you guys move through stuff pretty good. Let's say an hour. So 8 passes, you're out of 4 or 5 days of this experience of a drag and drive. You're only spending about 8 hours in doing the drag racing. You got change over the car, you got things like that. Like, are you guys, radial or slick only racing as well, or do you do a tire?
No DOT tire, or no hard tires.
Yeah. So yeah, you'll typically have. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and that's just because of the sheer speeds of these big cars. Those slicks are super, super sensitive, and if you got a hard tire on out there, that even if he was 10 passes in front, it still makes it very, very difficult to get off that line. So
yeah, for sure. And that's in doing Sick Week and discussing things like this with you. I think we'll probably lean more towards that way next year. For our own drag and drive event, just because it makes track prep a lot easier, or we'll dedicate a lane to that. I love hard tire stuff. We had a guy last year that ran like 1020s on a 250 treadwear rated tire. Really fast street car stuff was fun. But I definitely like that. And plus it makes everything go faster throughout the day.
Yeah, when you're not having to stop all the time to drag the track, that keeps racing going. It keeps the motivation high. It keeps people watching. It keeps people engaged, and that's the goal. You remember, I mean, we're building an entire experience here. It's not just about that 1,320 feet.
Yeah, and so that's what we were talking about early on. Sorry, and I completely changed conversation there. Which is what I do. I squirrel a little bit. Everybody knows if they've been on this for a little bit, but. If you have 8 hours of, physical in the lane racing during the week, that leaves you 100 hours that you're going to fill with the experience.
Mm-hmm.
You got to sleep some, which is probably about 20 hours of that. So that leaves you with 100 hours that you're fixing to fill up with like-minded people. You're going to fill up at super cool stops that you typically wouldn't hit if you were on a vacation trip. Mm-hmm. If you've got your whole family loaded up, you're probably not going to stop at the Cali's crank. And
yep, that's right.
Yeah, you're not going to stop there because you don't have the 2 hours. I mean, I spent 2.5 or 3 hours at Don Garlett's. I mean, you're going to spend 2 hours there talking to your buddies, talking to, looking at all the parts, talking with vendors, all that kind of stuff. You're talking with that vendor. You're not going to do that on a regular vacation. That's right. That's right.
We drove junk.
Yeah. And hey, back then, I don't know how old you are, but I'll turn 41, and a 13-second streetcar back then was pretty quick.
Yeah. So you're talking early 90s. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. When I first started driving, I was 15 years old. We had a 64 Chevy 2, and it went 9.5 at 154. And that was a 400 small block with a 350 turbo and a 556 Strange in the back on a 10-inch slick. Okay, now that was pretty quick back in the early 90s, and then I had a 72 Chevelle that I drove to school. Now that Chevelle was on its best day in the 15s. I mean, I could get into the 14s if I got out and pushed, but there was nothing that was in between because there was really truly no real true drivability. And I was in high school. I had zero money. I made $80 a week. You know, you can't buy a bunch of speed parts for $80 a week. So
no, I always joke with folks. I say, you know, I made $120 a week back then. Now I can't live on $120 a day.
there you go. That boy, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth?